Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Cordova. Just in case you were absent on 8:12, we learn about factoring quadratics. So we learn about factoring quadratics using the X method. Using the X method. Okay, this is what we did. Now, okay, let's start. Let me read a couple examples. So example number 1, we have 2x squared plus 4x minus 30. Okay, that's going to be the first example. So my first step is to find the GCF. And by the way, this format is called standard form. Standard form. That's the name of it. The name of the format. But the equation is a quadratic. It's a quadratic equation. So this is called a quadratic. Okay. All right. So let's start. So my first step is going to be to find the GCF. So step one will be GCF. Now, in this case, the GCF stands for what is the number that divides 2, 4, and 30. Now, it has to be the biggest number, okay? In this case, the biggest number will be 2, right? Because 2 goes into 2 twice, 2 goes into 4 2 times, and then 2 goes into 30 15 times. So we're gonna have 2 parentheses. This is my GCF, and then I'm gonna have 1x squared. That's because I did 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then 4 divided by 2 is 2, so plus 2x, and then negative 30 divided by 2 is negative 15. So that's what we have. Okay, and then from here, my step number 2 will be identify A, B, C, right? I need to identify A, B, and C. So I'm gonna go ahead and say my A is 1, right? This is my A, that's my B is 2, and my C is negative 15. So that's my second step. Now notice that I didn't say my A was 2 from here. So this is the 2 outside is my GCF. So be careful not to get confused. My step number 3 and last step is basically to write down the X method. So I'm gonna write down X method. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. So I'm gonna have go like this. This is my A times C. This is my B divided by A. Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna replace those letters by those values, right? So that becomes 1 times negative 15 is negative 15. My B is 2 divided by A, which is 1. So I need to find 2 numbers that when you multiply them, you get negative 15, and when you add them, you get 2. That's the trick. So in order to accomplish that, I'm gonna be doing let me think about it, 5 and 3 probably. So 5 times 3, I know 5 times 3 is 15, but it has to be negative. So that means that one of these two guys needs to be negative. So I'm gonna go with 3. Why? Because when we add them, I'm gonna get 2, right? So 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. There you go. So that works. So this one works for this one. And then 5 plus negative 3, that's a 2. So this one works for this one. So this is what we need to do. Okay. All right. Now that this works, I'm gonna write 5 and negative 3, right? Now notice that we have fractions here, right? We have fractions. Usually these fractions need to be simplified if you can simplify. In this particular case, we don't have to. So we're gonna write our answer as 2. This is my GCF, right? From the top, from step number 1, parentheses, 1x. So this number, the denominator goes in front of the x. 1x plus 5, parentheses, 1x minus 3. And this is my answer. So this format is called factor form. So we call this factor Factor form. That's the name of it. Okay. So this is my first example. Okay. So now I'm gonna go to my second. I'm gonna do 3 examples. I'm gonna go to the next one. Let me erase this real quick, and I'm gonna erase the topic as well. I don't need it right now. So on the next one, my next example, let me see which example will be a nice one from the notes that we did. Okay, this is a good example. I'm gonna have example number 2. I'm gonna have 6x squared plus 7x plus 2. Okay. Now on this one, again, we need to find the GCF. My step number 1, GCF. There's none, right? There's no GCF. Why? Because if I'm trying to divide these numbers by 2, now it's not always going to be 2. It just happens that these numbers are nice, but if you divide this by 2, you're going to get a decimal, right? So it's going to be none because of this, because of that number, right? These two guys work, right? If you divide it by 2. All right, so there's none. So number 2 is going to be find A, B, C. So identify A, B, and C. Okay, well, my A is going to be 6, my B is going to be 7, and my C is going to be 2. So that's my A, B, and C. They come from here. Okay. All right. So my step number 3 is going to be X method. This is my last step. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw my X, and I'm going to remember that formula is going to be A times C, B divided by A. Okay. Now you don't have to write down the formula. I just write it just in case you don't remember the formula. So that becomes, let me see, that becomes A times C, which is going to be 12. This is going to become 7 divided by 6. This is my A. So now I need to find 2 numbers that multiply to 12 and they add up to 7. And that will be 3 and 4. So we know that 3 times 4 is 12. So this works for this guy. And then 3 plus 4 equals 7. So this one works for this guy right here, right? Okay, so that will be 3 and 4 then. So my numbers are 3 and 4. Now notice something very interesting. This fraction can be simplified to 2 over 3, right? If you divide it by 2, 2 divided by 4 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. And also this one can be simplified to 1 over 2, right? We can divide it by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2, right? So my answer will be parentheses 2x plus 1. Now I wrote 2x because the 2 is in the denominator, so the 2 goes in front of the x, times 3x plus 2. Now in this case, there's no GCF because we mentioned that there is none. So this is my factor form. Factor form, okay? This is my second example. And my last and third example will be this one. Let me do it real quick. So the last example will be this one. It will be negative 4x squared plus 4x plus 8. Okay. Now on this example, notice that the a is negative, so we don't want to be we don't want the a to be negative, because when we do the x method, it will not work. Okay. So my step number 1 will be GCF, right? So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna take out the negative. Now these numbers are 4, 4, and 8. So I need to divide it by 4, no? That's the greatest common factor. So I'm going to say 4. So I'm going to say 4 right here. 4. So when I divide everything by negative 4, let's see what happens. Okay? So I'm going to have, sorry. So I'm going to have negative 4 parentheses, right? Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. So I'm going to have 1x squared. 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1, negative 1x, right? And 8 divided by negative 4 is a negative 2, right? I'm dividing so we can get these numbers right here. Okay, so there you go. My step number 2 will be to find ABC. So identify A, B, and C. So in this case, my A is gonna be 1, my B is -1, and my C equals -2, right? That's my A, B, and C. My third step will be to do the X method. So I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna write X method, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna write the X, okay? Like that. Okay, so on the top we have A times C, right? A times C, this is B over A. And again, you don't have to write this down, like you don't have to, you just need to remember it, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna write down the numbers. So A times C, which is gonna be -2, right? I multiply A times C, -2. The B is 1, -1, I'm sorry, -1. My A is 1 as well. Okay, there you go. So I need to find two numbers that multiply to -2 and they add up to -1. So the only number that come into mind is gonna be 2 and 1. So 2 plus 1 is not 1. So one of them has to be negative. So I'm gonna have, let me do -1. So 2 minus 1 is 1, but I want -1. So then that means that the 1 has to be positive and the 2 has to be negative, right? Because -2 plus 1 is -1, right? And then -2 times 1 equals -2. So this one is for this one, and this one is for that one, right? When I multiply. All right. So the answer were -2 and 1. So the answer right here on my X, I know it's kind of messy, I'm sorry, is -2 and 1, right? These two are my numbers, right? So my answer is gonna be 1x minus 2, right? Times 1x plus 1. Now there's no, remember that these fractions cannot be simplified, so that's why it stayed the same, right? We didn't simplify those fractions. And the GCF is -4. So there you go. This is my factor form. My factor form right here. Okay, so this is what we did in class today, just in case you were absent or you want to just review a little bit. Hopefully this helps you a little bit. Okay, you have a nice day. Bye-bye.